Hello. So, it's Halloween, and I thought I would share some of my ghost stories, supernatural occurrences, and night terrors. Um, so, the first real vivid memory I have that terrified the crap out of me was I was at my grandparents' house, and their house was pretty old, and there was a lot of stuff going on. But I was walking past the stairs and I looked up and I saw this dog with glowing red eyes and he was snarling at me. And they had a dog named Boomer, um, and it was a sweet little thing, kind of like mid-sized dog. And so I look up and I said, "Boomer, Boomer." I was about 5, and the dog Boomer came down next to me and looked up and started snarling and growling and barking back up the stairs. And my grandmother came and she started yelling at the dog and she was like, "Boomer, stop it." And she looked up the stairs, couldn't see anything, and I was like terrified. And she ended up yelling at the dog and the dog went and laid down and I went in and oh man, it was weird. Then another occurrence that I had was at my mom's old apartment complex. Um, I went out. I for some reason I felt like a beckoning, calling me out to the woods, and I was told not to go out there, or to not to go too far in the back. And I went out, and it's like all the trees and shrubs and thorns circled up around me, and I couldn't leave. There was no path out, and it was like tens of thousands of flies started swarming around, and I was terrified. And my brother broke through, and he's like, "Tony Joe, we gotta go!" And he picked me up and he started running. And years later, him and I went back, and we realized there's no woods back there. It's just a line of trees, like two trees thick. And we were both like baffled by it. And yeah, that was weird. So another time, and I don't remember if this is just me remembering my brother's story or if I really remember it. But I remember walking into the house when we were still living at that place, and there was like a tiger, like a white tiger, and there was like a bunch of animals, like zoo animals. It was like walking into the ark, but it was like there was some like predatory animals and others that were just kind of like observing. That was strange. Then when we moved to Cuba, I remember I would have dreams where it'd be almost like something would happen, and then it would be like the Batman symbol, like and but it was like a wolf, and it would just pop forward and back, and then I woke up and I heard, and I was like frozen. I think this was a night terror, and I looked out the window, and there was this like raggedy warlock thing with like old decrepit face, like warts, and it was like he was laughing, had like rotted yellow dirty teeth, like caked with crap, and he was laughing and he pointed at me. He was in like dark dirty rags. I went into my parents' room once I got up. Like like my mom said at a young age, like if you ever have something bad happen, that's not normal, say, "God, there's danger." And so I did that, and it went away, and eventually I could move again. And I went and I slept on the floor in my parents' room. Another time, I uh, I had that same kind of like, and then, and I woke up, and there was a television screen in my closet, and it lit up, and there was wars and riots and stabbings and just like, it was terrible. And then it was the Statue of Liberty, and it started pouring out water out of its mouth. And then it was a Mother Mary figure was standing there, pregnant, and she and the screen. Well, the screen came first, so the end of the screen was a football player running. And then I saw the Mother Mary. And my mom put some two and two together, and she said, like, oh, gridiron, it's iron grid. There's going to be, like, government takeover, something like that. Like, which, who knows? We'll see. There were a few other, like, there was one point where I walked out into the living room, and it was like I was really there, and it was like I woke up and left. And it was like, there was, like, body parts and blood strewn everywhere, and it was like it was terrifying. I don't really remember the conclusion of that one. Let's fast forward to, man, there's so many I'm missing. Oh well, I guess when I was younger too, we went to a funeral, and I afterward we were driving, and I looked out, and there was a pumpkin patch, and I saw this woman kind of half floating, and I was like, I see her. My mom's like, who? And I said, the person who died. I don't remember who it was. And she's in the pumpkin patch, and she was kind of witchly, and that was sketchy. Then. So let's fast forward to when I moved to Olean for the first time. Olean, New York. I was there for a while, and I wasn't a Christian then. Pretty nihilistic and atheistic. But I still had like a reverence for Christ for some reason. It was like I knew there was something important about Christ, but I was avoiding him like the plague, thinking, oh man, I don't want to give up my pleasures and my lusts and my desires and this, that, and the other thing. And I thought like he's going to bring the hammer down if I actually approach him. I didn't understand grace, and I didn't understand mercy. I just understood law and consequence and wrath. But there was this Christian lady there, and I had a few encounters with her, and there was a stretch of time. Around that time, I started getting into the New Age and Buddhism and philosophy and stuff like that, and which was, for the starving soul, it was good for that time being, to at least open my eyes that there's more out there and more in here, but it started getting darker and darker. Like there was this presence and a thickness in the air over the course of a few days. And there was one night where I woke up and I looked up, and my hoodie picked up off of the, I was in like a terror state, dread state, and picked up off of the hook on the wall, and it moved to the middle of the hallway. And then it just like a black smoke went down, and it turned into like the Grim Reaper, and he pointed at me. And he didn't say anything, didn't do anything, but just like pointed at me. And I was like, all right, Jesus, help. And I said, God. I don't know if I tied the two together very much, but I was like, all right, God, help. And my hoodie, it vanished, and my hoodie dropped to the floor. And I was like, that ain't right. So a few weeks later, I ended up moving out. I asked the person, another person who was living in the building, did the lady in apartment 4, is she around? I gotta talk to her. He's like, no, she's been gone for a few days. She's gonna be gone for a while. She went on a medical mission. And I was like, freaking A, that's weird. I was like, there's something about, Christianity where, yeah. But I moved into my new apartment, and I had been asking my friend, about, Christ, and talking about New Age stuff, and he would give me scriptures, and it would just like click, click, click. And I was like, whoa, whoa, things were coming together, and I had more of a reverence for Christ and the Bible. I thought the Bible was ignorant before, just because of, I don't know, encounters I've had. But then there was a night where I had like, it was like almost like a eerie, like ting, 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 ting. And then I was awake, and it was a night terror again. And I remember like just like a demonic presence like walking around. I didn't see him, but I was like, all right, Jesus, Jesus. Like in my mind, I was like, I couldn't speak. I was like, and I was like, I know that I'm sleeping. I know that my body is put me in a paralyzed state, so I can't move, so I don't jump off a cliff if I'm sleeping on it's a survival mechanism. But I was like, remember to speak. Remember to speak. I was like, all right, Jesus. And it was gone. It was like this light and comfort. It was like, whoa, and I ended up, my friend had bought me a Bible for my birthday, and I didn't open it for like years, and it was, in pristine condition, and I started sleeping with that next to my bed. Then there was a time when I came home from a friend's house, and I had a friend living with me, two friends, and I would I would wash my socks in the bathtub or in the bathroom sink, and then I would put them in the oven at 120 degrees and let them cook, just to dry out. And then I told my friend, he's like, "That's brilliant!" And I came home, there was smoke filled through the house. He had the socks in there at 500 degrees, but as I was walking up the stairs, there was like this. It was like like kind of like Gollum and Dobby mix. And it was like this nymph like type creature, and he ran, and the window opened, and he jumped out the window, and I was like, no. And I felt like, there had been something demonic playing around. Like it was a real sketchy. Like I just kind of had an intuition, and then like it was crazy. And there was another time when I was smoking pot, and I started to meditate, and as I closed my eyes, it was like, I started going deeper, and then I had like this like demonic purple like face that was there, but it was like clean cut, like rigid bone lines and stuff like that. And he had a third eye, and it opened, and it was like a cat's eye. And I was like, okay, I think there might be something demonic within me and within this. Like I started to seek more, and I was kind of led away by fear from some new age practices, and like with astral projection, like I was practicing that, and there was at one point I was like out of my body and above my bed, but then I was like, it was like I was in my body, and I was looking at the whole room, and it was crystal clear, and I could go out to the kitchen, and then I came back, and I was like, that was sketchy too. I didn't get too far with that before like fear turned me away from it and turned me closer to Christ.